And hello there, and welcome back to another Villa Volcano Twitch stream where we're going to be talking about the most recent episode of The Mandalorian.
Hey everybody, welcome back. That was a fun episode of many parts, lots of trivia and lots of Easter eggs and cameos hidden in there. Some really interesting plot developments and some quite emotional bits and pieces that we're going to be talking about. We've just jumped in and updated our SWTOR game. There was a big update, a big patch this morning, so we're just been testing a couple of things. There was an update, the entire client was updated to a 64-bit client, which has smoothed out some of the graphics performances, but it's introduced a few glitches so far. We haven't encountered any game-stopping glitches, so we'll see how we go. Hopefully they won't prop up for us during this stream, but just a forewarning.
Yeah, so we haven't sort of fully play tested this new update. As often you find when games do really big updates, there's always funny little things that might break or just work not quite as intended. So we do apologize if we have to take a moment to like change some of our settings or something like that. But we
seem to be okay, and fingers crossed that we will be. So it was a big patch, but the main underlying back end, nice front end as well. Detail was that it was a 64-bit client. But they snuck in a few other interesting things, like the Mandalorian gear that I'm currently wearing. It sort of had a Beskar-esque armor on this bounty hunter in the past, but without any advanced warning, they threw up this gear that is 100% Din Djarin inspired, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I'm still waiting for some Bo-Katan-esque gear in this game. So for now, I have the sort of SWTOR bounty hunter Shea Vizsla's gear on. So we're very sort of Mandalorian geared up.
Complete with just raised behind us as well.
Yeah. And I've got my Mudhorn pet, and you've got your Hoverpod, which are some of the pets that you can get in the game, which are obviously inspired by the Mandalorian as well. And we're going to be doing
on a planet called Rishi. Yep, which happens to be a bit of a pirate stronghold, a bit of a pirate hub.
Yep. So we thought that would fit the theme, and it also counts towards some in-game achievements and things like that we have to do for the current game season. So, gonna knock some of our sort of weekly to-dos off at the same time, so that all works out nicely. So I guess we're going to jump in and get this Battle of Rishi flashpoint started.
We're juggling a few things in game as we try and remember those key details in The Mandalorian episode 5. At the time we started playing it, I don't think it even had a title.
No,
by the time it started?
No, it didn't even have a proper thumbnail. It just
synopsis,
It just had the sort of promo image for the Mandalorian series as the thumbnail, and I don't know if that was deliberate or because it's like 10 minutes early. It was just a sort of a funny glitch. Hi David, thanks for joining us. That was definitely a fun episode.
I mean, the synopsis or the catch up from previous episodes and previous seasons always gives a little bit of a clue as to what's happening. So we had this clue that it was going to be Pirate King Orion Shand. Is that right? Heavy.
Shad.
And Greek Cargo was going to be involved, and it is Shad. I can't remember Shand or Shad.
I thought it was Shad, but now I'm doubting myself. I do apologize. I wasn't able to take notes this episode.
I'm going to go with Shad because I think I'm calling him Shand because of Fennec Shand.
I figured they probably would try and avoid very, very similar surnames. I know it's only one
name conflict,
one sort of letter off, but I think that would potentially trip up people if they shared the same last name. So
there's lots and lots of details in that story, and we got to the half-hour point, and we've gone through the whole chapter before another chapter, right? So I've just really got to think about the details. We started on Navarro. There was a little bit of a time before we actually saw anything to do with Mando directly.
So
it was sort of Greek Karga centric. He was talking to civil engineers about city planning, I think, basically, when his protocol droid came in and let him know that the pirates had shown up.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just gonna see if I can like boot it up on my iPad beside me so I can like have it playing next to me. That might help.
Yeah.
Help me remember some of the details as we go through.
I think that was the essence of it. So he was planning around a hologram, holo table, and then he gets the holo projector call from the Pirate King, who he tries to stand up against, but he's outgunned.
Yeah, because one of the bits in the flashback was the sort of the conflict with the pirates when Din Djarin was there. They wanted to drink in the former cantina, which was now a school, and obviously
at that time,
Grief
at
and
that time, there's only a small number of them.
Yeah, but we did get our sort of first look at the sort of the pirate flagship, as it were, and get a sense that that was not the last we were going to see of them. Wasn't sure if they were going to sort of be part of a bigger plot or just sort of an additional problem, because we're certainly getting a little bit less of the Empire remnant in this season. They're not really the main sort of problem.
I wasn't sure, to be honest, how much I would enjoy the sort of pirate story arc, but it definitely grew on me this time round for a few reasons, even though there's they're sort of leaning into the old-timey pirate tropes just a shade, but they grew on me. Interesting bit of trivia, we didn't mention it last time, so we didn't know until a little bit later. The Pirate King is voiced by an actor called Lonzo Mozi, I believe, who famously, he's been in a few things, but most recently he's famously one of the leads in SWTOR, which is filmed in New Zealand, so he's actually been in New Zealand quite a bit over the last few years.
Yeah.
So Pirate King threatens him and then follows through on his threat by raining ship scale blasters down on the city, and with devastation ensuing.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get my iPad set up. So yeah, we've got Grief Karga with his engineers, and he seems to sense something out the window. He sees sort of people in the square, sort of, and then
I've noticed something.
Yeah. Am I running the right way? Yes. I suddenly realized I was probably running backwards.
Oh, good. So I like Grief Karga. It was pretty straightforward start.
I thought it might have been one of those episodes where we're suddenly following the adventures and problems of not a separate group of people as per se, because Grief Karga is quite connected to Mandalorian, but I was wondering if it was going to be one of those episodes where we don't really see Din Djarin at all.
Well, initially it could have panned out that way, but as soon as it became clear that he wasn't going to get help from the avenues that he desired, the Rangers of the New Republic, basically, it became clear that it'd have to call out to Din Djarin.
Yeah.
So he does do that. So the pirates take over.
Well, they threaten to sort of because they're sort of arguing about who shot first in their last encounter, because they're trying to be sort of diplomatic a bit, and then he basically threatens that he's going to shoot first. And starts sort of attacking the town from space, I think.
I think the Pirate King, they did. They rained blaster fire down from the ship, and the Pirate King, he's aware that Navarro isn't yet protected by the New Republic. They're not formally part of it. They've got a relationship, because but they haven't joined.
I'm pretty sure there was an earlier conversation with Grief Karga and Din Djarin about staying independent.
Yeah.
That he didn't want to join the New Republic.
I almost thought it was kind of cool. I mean, I like the New Republic, and we've got a lot to talk about that later on in the conversation, but kind of like the idea of Navarro being a bit independent, particularly in relation with...
Well, certainly with the developments in this episode.
Yeah.
I think that that's an important position
it's
for
a
them.
much stronger position, yeah.
Yeah. Because as we see one of his first, we see some sort of bombing from the air, people running, and he sends sort of basically a distress holo message to
Captain Tiva.
That's the one. My brain was trying to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is sort of an X-Wing pilot officer.
We've seen
him before, yes. So that was fun to see him again, in a larger capacity this time.
So they jumped pretty promptly. It was about the 6-minute mark when we went back to double check because there's some really cool details that they showed us a outpost, a New Republic outpost, full of New Republic pilots.
Yeah, some sort of cool sort of overview shots
tons of
Y-wings and
X-wings.
With
a Y-wing, yep.
Yeah.
Which was cool. I love Y-wings. And on a nice little planet, not a highly technological outpost, but.
Oh, the episode's called The Pirate, which I thought was interesting because it's.
I think that's a dead end.
Sorry, I missed the door.
So, you're at the outpost of a Delphi base.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of cameos. As in previous episodes, a bunch of the directors have shown up as New Republic pilots / rangers. So Deborah Chow, Rick Famuyiwa, and Dave Filoni were all in there as respective established characters.
I didn't immediately spot Dave Filoni.
No, I didn't either, but he was.
I'll have to watch that a little bit more closer. But yes, we did spot Deborah Chow. The camera sort of goes close by here a couple of times.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
And there was other cool background characters. There was a calamari pilot. Yeah. There was a female Nivian bartender. Who was played by Mr. Rishis. And then of course there was a Lessat that walked into the field.
Yeah. So before we jump into that, he's kind of at the bar cantina or something like that, and it says a message came for you, and he sort of handed a little hologram card, and he borrows the reader to view the message from Grief Karga, and then the Sat comes over, basically says, oh, you could send a message, but they're just so bogged down you probably won't hear back for ages. So he's sort of talking. Captain Tiva's basically like, well, I'll go in person then. They can't ignore me if I turn up in person. And yeah, so that's that part of the storyline. But I was kind of blown away by this. Unless I am mistaken, this is the first live action Lessat we have seen. And if you're not familiar with the species, it is Zeb's species, Zeb from Rebels. So this was a pretty big deal.
Zeb Aurelius, yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they put a lot of effort. It was quite a highly detailed model, which made me wonder whether, because they got something up their sleeves in terms of live action Lessats down the line. We know there's going to be a lot of characters from Rebels potentially showing up in other series in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
But you might as well say what we saw in the credits at this point.
Yes, so watching it quickly, and it was just kind of, we're sort of gasping and talking to each other about it and that. So I was pretty sure it sounded a lot like Steve Blum, the voice actor for Zeb, but wasn't exactly sure. But getting to the credits and freeze framing that we see, yes, it is him, and it is labeled as Zeb. So that was pretty crazy to confirm that, yes, Zeb is sort of with the New Republic sort of pilot squad. Oh gosh, what is this? I'm not paying attention. So that, yeah, sorry. That feels,
so that's a big deal.
Yeah. So I feel like that was an Easter egg, to be sure, but we got a full-length view all the way down to his feet. So I feel like this was perhaps a test of the CG model, character performing sort of.
That's what it was.
So that, to me, without being too speculative, feels like a bit of a nod, a tease for his perhaps appearance in the Ahsoka series. We already know that there are a couple of other Rebels characters.
If not directly in Ahsoka, it pays away from the show in this series more.
Yes.
And it also just gives us a clue to where, because there's all sorts of talk about who's going to be involved in Ahsoka, but Zebra's been the name that's been conspicuously absent from those conversations.
Yes. Perhaps people thought, just the logistics of turning him into a live-action one, because it's quite a unique body type, the way that they walk. We didn't see his feet when he walked in this one. The full-length view was when he was standing at the bar. But we did see him move. But just
totally gives us a resolution to his story at this point, or at least
because we don't necessarily have a lot of information. We know, glimpses and pieces of particularly Hera and Chopper. We know that they ended up with the rebellion. Sort of like formally, properly, sort of, all the way through to the Resistance.
The other notable thing is that it makes full sense for Zeb to be part of the New Republic at this point, because he was one of the last surviving members of the Lasat species, which again increases the chance that it was going to be him. There's not many Lasats floating around.
Yes.
But they are also particularly anti-Empire, because they were treated particularly badly by the Empire.
Essentially, sort of wiped out. Yeah. So he kind of has a personal mission. So that was just so exciting to see. That was sort of a highlight, and it's one of those moments where it's like, I feel sorry for the people. Some people didn't watch Rebels. That's cool. I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. I think particularly with some of the content coming up, like the Ahsoka series, I think it is pretty much recommended viewing before that series comes out, that you should at least watch some of it to get familiar with the characters.
Some of the episodes are a tiny bit lightweight.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I really liked where they took the stories and how it tied into the growth of the Empire.
It was very much like Clone Wars. It kind of started out as you would expect, and then got quite complicated, or at least complex, and sort of like in a way that I think that fans really enjoyed. And I was sad that it didn't get quite as long a run as Clone Wars. But that could, I guess, pay off, because we're now going to see the further continuation of their character stories in a live-action format, which is just super cool. And to a certain extent, yes, the characters do just sort of overlap with the rebellion. So you can kind of imagine that they would just be working with the rebellion at whole, and would you can sort of imagine where their stories would go from there. But this is very exciting. That they sort of survived all those conflicts with the Empire in the original trilogy era. It's just so exciting. And as a Rebel fan, that's just so cool. We didn't get maybe as much Zeb merch as I know Rebels fans would have wanted. It was a little bit light on the merchandise front. Some companies have been a little bit better. Yes.
We're personally big fans of Steve Bloom, because he's come to New Zealand, so we've met him, but he also plays a big role in this game here. He does a number of voices for key characters.
Yeah. If you have ever played Hutball in the sort of player versus player mode in this game, he is Baron Deathmark, who you hear sort of announcing the Hutball games and the rules and all that kind of stuff. So if you play PvP, you hear his voice a lot, and he voices a couple of other sort of characters in the game. It's a lot of fun. So it's fun because when he came here, he talked about how exciting it was that he'd done sort of background voice work and stuff, but how much it meant to him to get a sort of a main cast character for Rebels. Because he is predominantly, a voice actor, and that's his realm, and
Well, look, I'd like to think that he's actually, because he's really excited by the reprisal of his role as Zeb, I would think, even if it's short-lived, even if it's not too deep. because it does continue a story. Because he has done some voices in The Mandalorian. In the past, he's always showing up as stormtroopers and other background stuff, but he did a few things like the Tatooine air traffic controller in the first episode when they first went to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Way back then, that sort of thing.
So that was just
really happy for him. And
yeah, that must have been hard keeping that sort of under wraps. To be honest, I got so excited after seeing that in the credits. I didn't see who the Zeb performer was on the sort of the second tier of credits. We sort of jumped on and started getting ready for our stream. So they might have posted a credit for the Zeb performer, because it is a very specific body type. Like Paz Vizsla, the voice and the sort of physical performer on set are two different people. It's fairly common in Star Wars.
Well, yeah, obviously, Queel is the key example of that.
Yeah. So after that cool scene, we kind of get Captain Teva in Coruscant, and he is talking to. I've got to double check this, but I'm pretty sure the main. I think he said he was in acquisitions or requisitions, something. The main sort of Republic person with very original trilogy inspired sort of brown uniform with those sort of rank badges that are dots. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Forgive me because I do not know the actor's name off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure, based on his accent and the way that he sort of performs this, it is the principal from Mean Girls. Which was kind of like a fun little thing. I've got to double check that online, but that's certainly what jumped to mind as soon as I saw him, which is sort of fun. And we see Captain Teva trying to convince the New Republic to basically send aid to Navarro. He is suspicious that perhaps this is part of a wider plot, because Navarro was a remnant Imperial sort of stronghold with stormtroopers, and he thinks maybe there's a specific sort of danger or reason why pirates are taking it over, and that it would probably be in the New Republic's best interest to not let pirates establish a stronghold here. But they're like, they basically rebuff him, saying, we've got so many requests for aid from people that have signed up to be part of the New Republic. Why would we prioritize somebody that is trying to stay independent? And we see that...
call me off guard. Yeah, you wrote the name down.
Elia Kane, I want to say. Yeah. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
The Imperial under Moff Gideon is there. Because this is on Coruscant.
It was really subtle. The camera kind of just, I can't remember if it broadened with a zoom or it just panned over, and suddenly she's there. And we kind of forgotten that she had that giant episode the other week.
And there are some really tense scenes here. She's clearly sort of, trying to be her sort of New Republic best self, but we know that she has really ulterior motives. We know that she's not good here. So she's really
in a vibe of playing the game of saying what she thinks people want to hear.
Yeah.
She's not coming across as
but still genuine. Kind of subtly manipulating.
Yeah.
And Teva points out that she didn't sort of surrender. She was captured. No, she said, I was, what is it, liberated. Yeah, and
sort of thing,
the way that she's sort of managing to get into sort of crucial parts. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of fun. Like, it wasn't a massive scene, but we can see her working behind the scenes. She's pulling strings. She's scheming things, because we get that mention that they kind of make a few references to Moff Gideon, and I wasn't able to sort of copy it all down. But we know that he didn't turn up for his trial. Yeah. So we're like, oh, okay, so, where is he then? What's going on? And obviously they don't know at this point. So Captain Teva's kind of...
statement. They don't specifically say if they've still got him or if he's somehow stopped or anything at that point.
Or that it's just sort of like delayed and is sort of caught up in red tape or something like that. It's not It's not the clearest at that point. But it's definitely one of those scenes where I'm going to go back and watch it for all the nuances to this. And it's definitely one of those scenes that's going to read very interestingly once we get a few more episodes, certainly towards the end of the season. I think it's one of those scenes where we're going to go, that's what that comment meant, and that's what she was trying to do, and that's why she was there, and all that sort of stuff. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But Captain Teva basically has to leave empty-handed.
Somehow, yeah, so he heads to, we see him approaching planet of the Mandalorian covert.
Yeah, because we see Bo-Katan's Gauntlet fighter parked there. Yeah. We don't see any Mandalorians outside.
No, but as audience members were, I think, mostly struck by the notion, how on earth did he know they were there?
Where the secret Mandalorians were hiding, yeah.
Yeah. So he seemed to find it pretty easily, pretty readily.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. So,
and he, because as we quickly spot, there are a few Mandalorians kind of in a sniper position on the top of the hill with their sort of blasters trained on him. And he said, a friend of mine that served in the rebellion is sort of among your ranks, and kind of basically outs R5D4. Who was there because Mando got him from
seconds prior to that, Kelly.
Yeah. Seconds prior to that
statement, I just said, "Oh look, R5's still there. I'm glad he's still alive."
Yeah, because you can kind of see him in the background. Yeah,
it wasn't an accident. Yeah.
Yeah. And he basically he knows how they'll behave being sort of like found, but is able to deliver the sort of little hologram hockey puck to Din Djarin.
There's a few things that go on at this point, because it's an effort to convince them, and once he's handed the message off, after a little bit of tense confrontation, he makes a statement that he knows that the Mandalorian, even though he won't tell anyone, they are unlikely to believe him, and that he knows they'll have to move, and he apologizes for that effectively.
Yeah. And
that's kind of an interesting little bit of foreboding in terms of how everything ties together down the line. And I'd like that. I like how it's all comes together in a win-win situation ultimately.
Yeah. But yeah, so, I think the next we see him leave, and Din watches the message so that he can see that, oh yes, Greef Karga, and it took me a bit to kind of really reflect back and recall the first sort of confrontations on Navarro between the original Mando covert that was there. Sorry, I'm just admiring your gear in the cutscene. Well, I'm light side now, aren't I? And it was Greef Karga that basically, when he was still sort of with the Bounty Hunters Guild, kind of ambushed Din Djarin. And in order to sort of rescue him, all the Mandalorians had to expose themselves to come to his aid and sort of launch an opposing attack on the Bounty Hunters. Exposing themselves meant that the Empire knew where they were, which led to the sort of the massacre that we see towards the end, where it's Din, the Armorer, and Paz Vizsla that are apparently the only survivors. So I dare say there is a lot of animosity amongst the Mandalorians for Greef Karga. And we sort of see like a kind of a council meeting of all the Mandalorians talking about it. And we see them, Din Djarin basically sort of doing a speech, pleading his case, and he's holding one of the Armorer's hammers as sort of like a speaking stick, which I thought was kind of fun. And he's sort of saying, he's changed and he offered me land and stuff like that. And a few other points that I think I was distracted looking at all the Mandalorians in this scene.
And it wasn't too complex. He says all the expected things, and then he sits down next to Bo-Katan and says, well, it's up to them now, basically. Yeah. Armorer, who's basically chairing the meeting, asks if anyone else wants to contribute, wants to speak. wants to lead for or against Mando's case, and Paz chimes in. I kind of, despite the way this started, I kind of had a good vibe about how it was going to end up.
Yeah, because he's not too. I thought he's
not a great Kaga fan,
but he originally wasn't much of a Dinjarin fan either.
and that's changed.
Yeah. But with the recent, I've got to pay attention to this fight. Got to jump behind the barrier and click it. Yeah. You have to click it and turn your companion to passive when we do that.
It doesn't matter if you go to different sides.
No, it doesn't matter. We just got to click it. Yep.
So call that if you notice it before I do.
Yeah.
All right, we might concentrate a shade on this fight. That's one where usually we can override the mechanics because we're kind of dead, but this one's got an insta kill mechanic.
Yep.
More convenient. Right.
Whoops.
You got it? Oh, drat, I came out too fast. Sorry.
I can't heal you. Over. No, you gotta wait.
It was over.
No, you just... No, it pulses until the final hit. Because my companion was walking over. Oh dear. Right. I used to do this one a lot with sorry, I'm going to put my heroic moment on just so I've got a bit extra. I used to do this one in Group Finder a bit, so I know it well. No, I'm going to let you talk about Paz Vizsla's conversation while I concentrate on this.
Yeah, so Paz kind of sets things up with a, you know, we lost a lot when we fought last time, trying to protect Dinjarin and yada yada, and it feels like it's going to go negative, but I don't know. I think a few of us would have had a strong feeling that he was going to say something that turned it around, and you know, he sacrificed a lot, specifically for this foundling.
I had a feeling that saving his son was going to be important.
Yes. Oh yeah. I know, and I was absolutely going to get to that. So he does say, why should we fight for this cause? Why should we fight to join with, you know, Dinjarin? And then he changes his tone and says, because we are Mandalorians, and it's clear that he's actually being supportive. And and so it's all come together. He's specifically supporting both Dinjarin and Bo-Katan, and he says as much. He specifically says that Bo-Katan didn't give up on his son when many others did. Which is kind of noteworthy, and I think that does tie into the conversation that happens between Bo-Katan and the Armourer later, that she has really, really demonstrated her loyalty and her, you know, reliability.
Her worthiness is sort of like all that there's always sort of like a historical sort of like, you know, honor. It's not just sort of brutality, that there is you know, sort of proving yourself to other Mandalorians and stuff like that.
So she's a worthy leader.
Like Moff Gideon said earlier on, that it's not just the dark saber, but the story that goes with it. You kind of need to prove yourself, you know, and that it's an honorable way that you obtained it. You know, that you have to be an honorable leader, I guess.
Yeah. So, after that speech by Paz Vizsla, all the Mandalorians are basically cheering on, and they're fully on board, and the Armourer cinches the deal by saying that this is the way as well, saying that she agrees as well, so everybody's fully on board. It's unanimous, and I guess there's a little bit of a possible time jump, but they ultimately are congregating outside with the vehicles set up. There must be a time jump because Dinjarin's N1 has been moved into position, and they're basically just strategizing that Din will be taking point in terms of the snub fighters. The Gauntlet fighter will attack the main Corsair, and a couple of waves of ground troopers will go down to engage with the pirates on the ground.
Which is really fun to see that many Mandalorians all kind of engaging in combat or working together. And, you know, we've seen some combat with the Mandalorians, but not quite on this scope, really.
It's all just in a reactive way. This was a strategized frontal assault And so we get that really cool scene from the trailer with the Mandalorians dropping out of the Gauntlet fighter in a couple of waves each side of the vessel, using their jetpacks to drop down and take out the ground forces. Grief Karga's talking to Din Djarin at this point over comms to his starfighter, talking about the odds that he faces. Din Djarin, of course, says something along the lines of he enjoys those odds or fights those odds or whatever, as he's simultaneously reducing the odds by taking out the enemy ships. So we see a few things on board the Pirate King's vessel as well. There's a fun little Agnaut second in command, or at least a officer of some sort. I don't think we saw a name in the final credits.
No. But felt very inspired by. I've just seen pictures of them side by side, but it very much reminded me of Smee, sort of Captain Hook's right hand man from the Disney Peter Pan.
Yeah. So David in chat just says the Mandalorian ground fights are awesome, and then the armor OMG. Yeah, and of course it was very cool to see the armor fight. She came out behind quite a number of them, half a dozen, I guess, 4 or 5 at least.
Sort of in Grief Karga's sort of office, yeah. Yeah,
where they had mounted a heavy cannon, and they had the high ground at that point, so they were doing some damage to a few of the Mandalorians from that high position, that position of advantage. But yeah, Armorer, as you're saying, still Punisher does get a name at some point.
I know.
The Armorer.
Yeah.
She comes in behind with the.
And I thought it was fun that she still doesn't have a specific weapon other than her sort of forging tools, but she uses them to such fabulous effect.
Close at hand, yeah.
Yeah. Because we don't really see many examples in sort of modern storytelling of. Where are your body? Okay, you're over there. I'm going to come get you. Of sort of Mandalorians that use melee weapons. Mostly blasters and rifles and whatever you call the giant backpack mounted cannon that Paz Vizsla uses.
Ground to air missiles,
yeah.
So on the whole, after some cool action, quite cool variety in the action, they managed to roust the ground forces, and the Pirate King can see that he's losing. He wants to, I don't know, he's pretty nasty and vengeful, because at this point he is aiming all his weapons at the survivors on the ground, the unarmed survivors on the ground, and the unrelenting weapons are getting closer and closer to that crowd of essentially refugees at this point. I think Din and Bo-Katan strategize that they need to take out the final engine on the Corsair.
Yeah.
Which they do, and it crashes to the ground spectacularly.
Yeah. Behind the sort of main city, so it doesn't.
Yeah. I was going to say, specifically, it crashes in a position that's not going to affect any other buildings or people.
To be honest, it was kind of sad seeing Navarro kind of demolished. You know how hard they've worked to sort of restore it once sort of getting the Imperials out and sort of taking over it. We saw trees, we saw sort of bustling markets, and then having it all sort of, back to rubble was kind of sad.
I don't think it was completely decimated. I think a lot of it is stone, and I think they'll be able to recover.
Like the big archway was kind of broken and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh. Do you want to go to Taris?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
So, Grief Karga's thanking them. Some activities, Taris, and he basically makes a similar offer that he's already made to Din Djarin, that there is tracts of land that they can occupy and have a home, have their privacy, have their stability, and not have to be in hiding. And I think that's pretty cool. I think it's cool for a few reasons. I think it's cool for Navarro because they've basically got in-house protectors now if they follow through.
Yeah, Mandalorians have a reputation.
But the Mandalorians, they've been on Navarro before. They know they've got some of their resources still there. The original forges still there, so I presume that they can relocate that above ground as appropriate. Yeah, I thought it was quite a cool move, I think, to have the Mandalorians be able to settle down. So I hope they follow through on that.
Yes. Yeah, because after they kind of liberate the city, sorry, we'll jump in and start doing something. You pick them all up?
Yeah, I got them.
We'll go to the Fathers of Taris. We get a scene where it's a little bit ominous, like when they're all sort of celebrating and Paz tells Bo-Katan, oh, the armorer wants to see you. It's like, ominous. My brain was like, she didn't do anything wrong. She didn't take her helmet off.
No.
Sort of being summoned to the principal's office. And then you can see that she's sort of being led downstairs, and then we see that the armorer is by her original forge, which, of course, it's a big, heavy sort of piece of machinery. It's still, it took me a second to kind of realize that, yes, this is the location of the forge in the original Mandalorian covert, which was sort of hidden in the tunnels. And she's there. And we get this scene where she's sort of talking to Bo-Katan, talking about you've walked both ways, because there's like the way of some Mandalorians that take their helmets off and some don't, there's different...
Yeah. So she's been with this covert long enough to prove that she respects their ways, despite
I don't know if they have a specific name. Like we've had Death Watch and Night Owls. I don't know if this particular covert has a name.
There's something on the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming to me.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there is a name, but it's just not coming to me.
Yeah, it's not something that's like reiterated a lot in the show, so I'll have to look that up later. But the armorer tells Bo-Katan to sort of take her helmet off, and you can see, without seeing her face, that she's like, I feel like this is a trick, She went through that whole sort of redeeming thing by, keeping her helmet on, and she's like, do you trust my station? Basically, like, if you trust me and my authority, then it's fine. So she takes her helmet off and basically says, like, you've walked both ways.
It's a symbolic movement. It's a symbolic gesture to demonstrate that she can represent both points of view, both all the different
and
things,
that she has proven herself, because we saw her take once again a leadership role in the fight on Navarro. We sort of see her standing in front of her ship talking about the plan for battle, like she did to rescue Paz Vizsla's son. You can see that she's a natural leader. She does it without sort of needing the sort of the praise or the accolades that comes with being in charge, or any of the perks. She doesn't consider herself to be the ruler of these people, but she'll step up.
From that point onwards, every time she was sort of seen, she was walking directly beside the armorer, which kind of just conveyed that they were both equal in terms of leadership roles.
But I think it was also a mark of respect from the armorer that she could see that their ways are different to, her approach to Mandalorian culture and what she was raised in, but she respected it. She didn't argue with it. She was there. She's like, okay, cool. I'm going to follow your rules. And that approach was earned respect from the armorer and the culture, and they're basically like, we're not going to sort of hold you to our rules because you can walk both sides, and also like acknowledge the fact that she had seen a mythosaur. That was a very big component to their conversation. That are sort of basically bestowed some sort of like sort of chosen one type path on her, because she had seen it. It must be important. Let's go to Highway to Destruction.
What's happening here is that we see, the armorer and Bo-Katan, everyone's sort of realizing that even though there are different points of view and different sub-clans, if they don't start to get past their differences and start fighting about their differences, then they'll never be united, and they'll never be as powerful as they historically were.
Yeah, they'll be living in holes, hiding, and yeah, fractured. I think there was a reference somewhere in the previous seasons that basically the Empire knew that they had to fracture Mandalorians to sort of cripple them, that they're weaker, all being fractured and infighting and stuff like that. And I don't know if it was basically Bo-Katan that was like, this is how the Empire defeated us, you know, the infighting. That if they can't sort of work together, then how on earth can they band together to take on the Empire? Which is, yes, she sees that and she understands that. But she wasn't sort of, you know, apart from the Darksaber, she's obviously sort of abandoned that train of thought and thought, you know, that perhaps she wasn't worthy because people didn't respect her without the Darksaber and stuff like that. And I think that it's really turning into a bit of a season for Bo-Katan's sort of redemption arc, which I'm absolutely loving.
Oh no, her story is totally overshadowing anyone else's at this point.
And I think you almost can't do a story about unifying Mandalorians without her, you know, because we know she's alive in this timeline, and she's, you know, a member of the sort of the original royal family and all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's only fitting to have her be so central to this, because I know I'm biased. I think she's an awesome character, so I'm excited to see her getting so much screen time and involvement in the plot. So after that conversation with the armorer, they walk out together, and you can see all the Mandalorians like, oh, she took her helmet off, you know, because that's obviously like a big no-no. And the armorer's walking along beside her and basically points it out.
Explosives?
Probably not. I'll run back, sorry. I can't speed her in here.
Yeah.
No. I wasn't sure if it was something we both needed to click. Oh dear.
We do.
Okay.
We do.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, the armorer basically sort of announces to everyone that she can walk both ways, and that she's sort of basically going to be uniting the Mandalorian clan, which is cool because now we've got a planet where they were given a whole chunk of land. I think it'd be cool because in this game there's sort of like big Mandalorian compounds, you know, where they have like training arenas and things where they can work on their armor and just sort of live and, you know, have their own place in the world. Obviously I want to see them reclaim Mandalore, but having a place where they can basically like, if Bo-Katan's off on a mission to go find Mandalorians and bring them home, convince them to come back, then when they get enough of them, they can, you know, go back to Mandalore and sort of reclaim it. But at least there's like a base where she's like, hey, there's the rest of them are over on this planet. You just, you know, tell them I sent you type thing. And she can keep, it'll be really fun to see if we get to follow her story arc separately to Din's for a little bit, because I think Din seems to be staying put with the Mandalorian covert. He's got Grogu.
And Pez,
yeah. And I think he's very keen for
starting Grogu's training as Mandalorian.
Yes. So perhaps that's going to put him at a little bit of a disadvantage for great quests off-world. Though he did seem to have Grogu on his lap during some of the space combats.
Yeah, because he had R5 in the droid socket still.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's still got R5.
Yeah. But that was just so exciting seeing that, because, you know, once again, she's basically allowed to take her helmet off. And
I thought it was a fantastic outcome. I always wonder. I mean, I guess we should be able to predict these things a little bit, but I always think we missed.
There's one of them up the top somewhere. Maybe over here. I'll check.
I got one right to this one.
We'll both click it.
So yeah, everything's coming together.
Yeah. Because I really want to see them all kind of, you know, coming together. It's fun seeing, like, this is one of the sort of the largest clusters of Mandalorians we've seen since those very early episodes on Navarro, where they're all sort of hiding in the tunnels. We're seeing lots of different style of Mandalorian armor, which is just fun from a fan perspective, you know, seeing all the different sort of outfits for people that want to make their own. Lots of inspiration. And I really do hope we see a little bit of Bo-Katan going around and recruiting other Mandalorians. Because, yeah, I want to see the Mythosaur again. I don't want that glimpse to just sort of be the omen that we needed to spark off her quest. I want it to be seen or, you know, be ridden or something, you know, in an upcoming episode. But, of course, we have to talk about the very final scene in this episode. So after, I guess it's about the same time or jumping back a little bit, we see Captain Teva, I guess, heading back to Coruscant, I think. He's in the Coruscant region. We shall go to Last of the Tarisian Pirates. And sort of dark space, and we see this ominous shape off in the distance, and as we click closer, we see it as sort of like an Imperial shuttle. We can see as he gets closer that it's disabled, that it's been shot at, because we see debris sort of floating by.
Yeah,
and so his astromech sends out a little probe, which is like the little pop-up sort of periscope-scopy bit that we've seen R2 pop up, but it actually completely detaches from his astromech and sort of flies on over to the ship to act as a little sort of recon probe, which is fun. Yeah. Haven't really seen that before, not that I'm aware of.
No, not that really, but it worked.
And it sort of flies into the ship. They find the bodies of some sort of Imperial crew, Republic crew. Sort of the blue outfits and the white hats that we have seen on sort of Republic security forces.
They're able to identify that it was a prison transport ship, but that other information about it is classified.
Yeah. As he's scanning the sort of the Republic base that he is talking to over his comm, they seem to be able to identify via the sort of the time frame of traffic and logs of traffic in the area that it was the shuttle that was transporting Moff Gideon, whose body is not on the shuttle. So now we know why he didn't turn up for the trial, or didn't appear for his trial. Something ambushed the shuttle, the transport shuttle, and took him off. And scans by the little astromech probe reveal that there is a fragment of Beskar lodged in the hull. And they're like, would Mandalorians do that? And it sort of like poses this unanswered question. Which is very interesting, because we know that in the past there were Mandalorian factions that did align with the Empire. So we don't know if it's a misdirect, like something planted to basically frame Mandalorians. We know that this information may cause headaches for the good Mandalorians, considering they're just starting to sort of gather together. That could make them a target of the New Republic, which wouldn't be helpful. But that also does tie in some sort of interesting possibility of Moff Gideon working with Mandalorians. Bad Mandalorians, but Mandalorians nonetheless, perhaps. We know that there are plenty of other people running around with Beskar. We had the female magistrate in the Ahsoka episode. She had the spear, and certainly the client had a Camtono full of it. So it's not. We know that the Empire did have a fair amount of Beskar in their possession. They would have looted it from Mandalorians. So it might have been basically a ploy to, frame Mandalorians for the attack. Because New Republic officers were killed, which, you know, isn't a good look. It does make things very complicated for the next episode. I want to see how Kane is involved in all this. She might have figured out when and where his transport was going to be, and she basically used inside information to coordinate an ambush and rescue him.
A mole, yeah.
Yeah. And is sort of sticking around to use further information. But overall, that was a fantastic episode. I like seeing the Mandalorians coming together, working together, taking back Navarro, which, yes, for most of them wasn't exactly a planet they had lived on, because we know most of the Mandalorians got killed last time they were all living there. But I want to see them actually sort of being a bit happy, you know, having a place and a society that's actually welcoming to them and appreciates them for who they are and their skills and everything like that. They don't need to hide, which is, you know, oh golly, what's going on here? Which is a position these Mandalorians have not had. You know, they've had to hide. And that doesn't feel, I guess, very honorable. And yeah, I just wish that armorer had a name. I'm sure she has one. Just, you know. Or at least sort of like a title, you know, like Mandalore the Great or something is a title, you know. The person isn't actually called Mandalore, it's a title. So I don't know if there's sort of like a clan leader specific title in Mandalorian culture, but they certainly haven't given her any other name. Nothing's ever said in the episodes. They never sort of address her with a name.
No.
I don't think they even call her the armorer in the show. Whenever she's in the episode, the actress Emily Swallow is in the sort of the first part of the credits, so there's never a character name next to hers. Have we done this side?
Well, I forget.
Yep. Okay, we're going down the hill now. But yes.
Yeah, no, the name basically comes from action figures and props.
Yeah. Which is the same as Grogu. It was just the child, you know, for a while before we finally had a name. You know, it was just basically Baby Yoda for a while before, you know, it was sort of...
didn't have a name until last
Yes. Yes, that's true. So certainly precedent in this. We know the showrunners must have names for these characters. They just are very deliberate when and where they reveal that information. But I'm very excited for next week's episode. I forget how many episodes we've got until the finale.
That was 5. It was 5 of 8.
Okay.
3 more. So how many say that's 3 out of 5 for Taris.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just quickly checking something. I'll pick this up. We'll quick travel to spilling chemicals.
Yep. In terms of Galactic Seasons, just to note that all the bonus missions we're doing do count towards the 8 we need to do, so that's useful.
Okay, that's good.
So even though we've only done 3, we've done 5 from the point of view of Galactic Seasons. We're always keen on Galactic Seasons. It's just starting this game because it's a extra channel of gameplay that's incentivized by giving us companions and cool gear for just playing the game, basically.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay,
so,
I'm done. I'm on my way.
Yeah, episode 5 of 8. Moff Gideon's still yet to make his appearance and do whatever sinister things he's up to. And with the SWTOR, of course, will we get to see more, or is it just going to be a passing encounter?
Yeah, it was fun seeing the sort of the New Republic pilots. And I particularly noted that this episode was one where we saw a lot of aliens. Particularly alien species that we're familiar with. You had all of the sort of the classic Skiff-Guard species in the pirate crew. We had Ugnaughts. We had whatever species the pirate captain was. I don't know that I'm familiar with the name of the species. We had some very recognizable species within the sort of the New Republic pilots, like the SAT. And then specifically in the Navarro townspeople, we had things like Monkal and Twi'lek. We had monkey lizards.
Jawas.
Yeah.
And a couple of sequel trilogy ones.
Yeah. And that one that's I can never remember the name of it. I think it's a Jabba's Palace one, the one that's kind of got a long face and tusks. There's an action figure of it.
I think it was a Whiffid.
I can never remember the name of it. I just remember it was a cool action figure.
They show up on Rishi in this game, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta look it up. But I thought it was quite cool. It sort of felt like we had a bunch of different locations and lots of alien species and some fun sort of guest stars or at least cameo appearances. Makes me super excited to see what the final 3 episodes have in store for us. We've seen,
and
without it being spoilery, I think it's safe to say that we will see Moff Gideon. I have seen, there was a recent interview with Giancarlo where the interviewer remarked that there was only a few episodes left. So if we were going to see him, we're going to see him soon because there aren't that many episodes left. And he sort of remarked like, yes, you're going to see me soon. So I don't think that's a spoiler. And I think this final episode scene definitely leans into the fact like, okay, he was captured, but now he's not. So I think we're definitely going to see him in the next episode. We're going to find out. Don't know that we'll necessarily see his rescue, but we're going to see where he is and what he's doing, which I'm very excited about. Such a cool character. And so if there is a enemy sort of Empire aligned faction of Mandalorians, is that going to be basically a challenge for Bo-Katan to draw them in with other Mandalorians? Is she sort of going to be tasked to sort of redeem them, draw them in, sort of, you know, draw them away from the Empire to her? Sorry, I think we're going back.
Right. Yeah, that's my fault.
And that would be the ultimate sort of test, wouldn't it, to sort of bring in Empire-aligned Mandalorians to their side. I still feel like we need to address the Darksaber. I almost thought that Din might pull it out while he was talking in front of the other Mandalorians, basically like, you have to listen to me because I've got the Darksaber type thing. But he hasn't pulled that sort of, that ace in his sleeve. He's never used the Darksaber to kind of pull rank.
So David in chat's just wondering if Gideon has any relationship to Thrawn.
Interesting.
Even if Thrawn doesn't show up, there could be a reference there.
Yeah.
Because he's certainly been named a few times. Elspeth on season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yep. And Ahsoka, yes.
Specifically worked for Thrawn, even though it was from a distance.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think in order for the Empire to have influence or try to grow or reclaim their influence, they have to work with corrupt leadership on planets, people that are sort of perhaps, you know, willing or quite eager to turn a blind eye to have the Empire kind of back them up and make them wealthy, give them a position. Sorry, I'm just going to wait for this thing to respawn. But
yeah.
Do this one over here. Yeah. I definitely feel like they're going to give us some drip sort of breadcrumbs in this episode, in this season, because this is, I think, the last season of The Mandalorian we're going to have before the Ahsoka season.
Yeah.
I know one of my companions just standing out here. He got all confused.
I don't know. He wasn't that lot, was he?
No. I'll see if I can send him in there. Nope. Is he going to run in? Oh, come on, run in. He's a sniper, so he tends to sort of stand back a bit, but that was a little too far back. Oh, I nearly ran into the acid. I got turned around. Got my galactic season points. Let's do. Huh?
I've got around in my inventory.
Oh, okay.
Some junk in there. Yeah, that needs some work. Where's that back? Come on. Okay, so where should we go next? For one more.
Is it Enclave Raid? Sorry, I got my deconstructing window open. Yeah, Enclave Raid. I like that one just a little bit more than Blackout.
Okay. Oh, we got a mount. Oh wow. Hang on, I'm overflowing with junk.
I'm gonna pull stuff for seasons down later.
Enclave Raid did back.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
This one's fun.
Just give me a second before we start. I'm just gonna make spaces. I keep running up against.
Yeah. Too much stuff. I've got free inventory if you need me to hold something for you.
Should be okay now. Just deconstruct a bunch of armor. Much better. Yeah, okay. Let's get in there.
Cool.
Alright.
I'm still reeling from the fact that they put Zeb in there. That was so unexpected and so exciting though, which makes you wonder if we're gonna see there's certainly been like casting rumors and characters kind of, you know, teased and stuff for Ahsoka. You gotta wonder whether, I mean, without going too much into spoilers, I feel like you gotta sort of address the obvious, the Sabine being another one that is connected to Mandalorian culture, and she was young in Rebels, during sort of, you know, that height of the Empire. She's got to be somewhere out there.
Yeah, no, her appearance is confirmed
in this series.
Not in this series. No.
That's what I mean. I think that would be like an interesting surprise.
Well, not in Mandalorian, but in Ahsoka.
Yeah, but I think that if they just surprised... Sorry, I'm just going to tag that right there.
Right.
Yep. I think that would be like a really fun, sort of interesting surprise.
So it's over there, is it?
Hmm?
Out. Oh, so they came over to join in.
Yeah, to take out that droid, that's fine.
Just checking. Okay.
Gonna head over and do the bonuses over here.
So we've all jumped in and watched Bad Batch.
Soon.
Notable is the fact that it's a double episode season finale.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready.
Which crept up on me pretty fast, yeah.
Yeah.
I was not expecting.
There has been some very cool episodes, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for what the episodes contain, but I'm also not ready for the season of Bad Batch to be over. I mean, I know I'm not ready for there to be Mando. They better give us some pretty cool announcements at Celebration. You know, to give us something to look forward to fill the gap. We're getting a little bit spoiled with having so much Star Wars every week. You know, 2 episodes. Like, oof. It'd be fun if that was a continuing pattern, but I do think it was odd, I have to say, putting Bad Batch and Mandalorian overlapping like this. I feel like perhaps they crammed it together because they wanted them to screen before Celebration, but
sure.
Then we've got like a chunk of time with nothing, which seems a bit clunky. And for Americans, where this stuff drops at midnight, I feel that's like cruel. You gotta stay up and watch like an hour and a half of Star Wars at midnight. Not everyone can do that.
Or worse, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, tonight's episode was what, about 40 something minutes? And then you've got 2 episodes of Bad Batch? That's gotta be like 2 hours solid. Not everyone can stay up to 2 AM on a work night. Or school night. You gotta think about the number of families that must want to watch Star Wars together. You know, enjoying, particularly with Bad Batch, you know, animated show. It would be fun to, you know, watch these things together with your kids. Oh, I got a holocron? Oh, come on.
You know, yeah, effect.
Oh, you keep...
I got 3. You don't get it.
No, it says access denied. Because you jumped on it. Oh, finally got it.
It shouldn't.
Yeah, I was clicking on it and then you came in and clicked on it and it like interrupted my picking up. Because your computer is faster. I didn't get any of those. Arrgh! I've got 6 out of 10 overseers and only 3 out of 5 artifacts.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've got.
Okay. You are Freckles. Okay, let's not take on those guys. There is a escort over here. Let's see. Yeah, he's got a gold guy that came in. Do you think we'll see Thrawn in this series? Like in the final episode, you know, like maybe not Din Djarin see them, but sort of like a little offshoot, like the way that they teased Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, you know, as they were saying in chat, it could be the way they tie the series together.
Yeah.
It could be in a way that, yeah, just doesn't give us any information, just that he is doing something.
Up this way?
And then we'll cut back in terms of story to
yeah.
Ahsoka trying to catch up with him and tie the loose ends together.
Go on.
Right, yeah, a few more overseas.
Yeah, just want to get these boxes. Yes. Got it. Okay, overseers. Over here.
So there will be some big news to talk about over the next few weeks, on top of the actual Mandalorian details, because of the details that we're expecting to be coming out of Celebration. We're kind of excited.
I'm also just a little bit anxious because they keep switching things on us, and I know they haven't done like panels for things that were cancelled, but I feel like, well, not that I actually went to panels, like I can't say for sure about the last Celebration, but I feel like I would have remembered if they'd given us like a big Rogue Squadron panel or something like that. I don't think there was. But I think a lot of people are just anxious because they talked about basically, oh yeah, all those stuff that we'd like announced, it's not going ahead anymore. So I think there's a lot of people anxious about what they are going to talk about, because we've spent the last couple of years getting really amped up for movies, and they're like, oh, these people are signed on to write and direct a movie, and then nope, that's not happening, and then this people are, and then it's like
high level detail, but we know that there will be a movie in 2025 and then 2027. Those are fairly certain under Bob Iger. So details, if they are confirmed about the 2025 one, they almost got to be solid. If things fall over that close to a release date, that would be pretty disastrous.
I just think I'm a bit cautious about getting excited for stuff until it's much closer, and nothing is close. No movie is absolutely close to coming out. What gear did I get? Oh, I got a glove upgrade. That's good. You're a defense one. So that's Taris done?
Yeah, that's... Where are we?
Can abandon the last one?
Yeah, because we have finished that weekly for Glacier Seasons as well. There's no point doing it at all. But that's probably a good point to wrap things up.
Yeah. Now, does it cost to go back up to my stronghold? No. Okay.
No, not to go up. No.
Not to go up, yeah. That was a really cool episode. I did enjoy it a little bit, not taking notes. I knew that I was going to flounder a little bit, trying to make sure that I recalled all of the details. Because I usually take notes in this one. So I just had to sort of recall them from memory. And sometimes I get distracted by very exciting things. But I very much enjoyed being a little bit more able to follow all the details a little better. Like all the faces in that sort of New Republic cantina with all the pilots and stuff. That was cool. So I guess we can wrap things up there.
Yeah.
And we'll probably go and watch Bad Batch and then go watch Mandalorian again, as we often do, because there's always like lots of fun things and details, and just to sort of really absorb it into our mind. Because thankfully, it screens at like 8 p.m. here in New Zealand, and it's soon to be 7 p.m. once we have our daylight saving. So that's fun. So being able to watch Mandalorian episodes at 7 p.m. is just great. David says, but wonderful as usual. Might do a quick third rewatch before bed. Yep. Awesome. So thanks so much for joining us and chatting about the most recent episode of Mandalorian. As always, this episode will be archived on our YouTube channel. So if you missed any sort of chats or just want to hear us talk excitedly about the Mandalorian, our episodes are there. We'll be doing the same. No, actually we won't. It'll be Celebration. So we won't actually be streaming next week.
Not in the same format, but
no, but we'll try and do something. Yes.
We might have something up on our YouTube channel one way or another.
Yeah.
No promises. We'll see what we can do.
But yes, we're hoping to do one for Bad Batch very soon, if not tomorrow. But yes, thank you so much for joining us. Catch you the next time, and as always, may the Force be with you.
Take it easy, everyone. We'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.